and the knowledge basically that's coming from the experience that you have so far, going up into the experience that you're going to gain from what you're doing now. Like
Right.
this is like
Yeah.
that Super Saiyan moment where you done gathered up all the power, you pulling everything now.
Right.
Now it's
Mm-hmm.
time to set off those explosions in different directions and move forward. And it's great to be able to reconnect with you on that aspect, because that's one thing that when I try to reach out to people, which I rarely do, I always want to reach out to people that I know I can add value to.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to add value to what I'm doing. And the overall goal and the overall mission is to be able to have a life of wealth, not just financial, but personal
Right.
wealth.
Absolutely.
So, and I see you hit that record button. So,
You already know. I was just about to say we're gonna keep speaking on it, but we ain't gonna give no free promo to any current or former businesses.
right,
But
right,
like I said, because the conversation was getting so good, I'm like, what
yeah.
am I doing? Right? What am I doing? But what I want to touch back on is something you said, because we looked at our previous, I guess, jobs or careers both differently from the beginning. Like I said, you didn't expect to be there a year. My expectation out of college was what I think normal people are told: go to school, get good grades, get a job, and retire. Right? That was kind of the what the factory told us.
Yeah,
In a sense. So, my whole thing was I could always manage how hard I worked. Right? And that's one thing I knew no one was going to do, which was outwork me. The reason I feel like I was able to progress in the corporate world as I did without always having the number one, I guess, quote unquote, accolades that came with it. But I was able to not only perform at a high level individually, but also be a leader and help others around me perform better as well, which got me into then developing other leaders, right? Of
right,
course. And now doing something very similar. But like I said, so my mindset was I'll be there forever, and that got cut short. And like I said, yours was, hey, I'm not gonna be here a year, and yours extended 5 times that,
yeah,
in a sense. So it's always important to look at, or even to look back at how different perspectives are,
right.
and how important it is to always respect other people's perspective, right? Because their experience is going to be different from yours, of course. So, I think that was a good point that you came
Absolutely,
across.
absolutely. And just to continue on that point of reconnecting, being able to, I might tell this story later on in the recording, but
And go and tell it. Go and tell it. You go and
I'll
tell it.
leave it for the people so that they'll have something to hold on to. Hopefully, I'll
Hmm.
remember it because my memory be slipping sometimes. But it's along the same lines, like reconnecting with people.
Hmm.
Sometimes, they say there's a season for everything.
Hmm.
Sometimes people are in your lives for seasons. Sometimes opportunities, places of work are in your life for seasons. And I was saying that, of course, when I decide to reach out to people, I want to reach out with those people that I can see there being a future somewhat with.
Hmm.
So being able to build and reconnect with a handful of people that I can see have certain visions for the future, that I can see, hey, their mindset is of a positive nature,
Hmm.
whereas it aligns with my goals and their goals. Hopefully, I align with their goals. So my experience for those 6 years at the job, it allowed me to, well, I should say, starting off, prior to that, I was more so not in such an internal corporate setting,
Hmm.
being in the call center and stuff like that, talking to the customer over the phone. It was wild to me when I got to T-Mobile, because I had just came from the world of um, outside door-to-door delivery.
Hmm.
So I'm the representative coming to you as the customer on your turf,
Mm-hmm.
to your door in your home.
Right.
So the roles was very different for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like in the think where I was doing it at. So being in Richmond, being in all the courts, so to speak,
Right. All the
all
courts.
the hood spots and everything, and being out in those areas and having to serve the community in a certain capacity, you see certain things, you hear certain things. I had the privilege of seeing the good, the bad, the ugly in those days.
Right.
But then when I had to gain that experience in order to see what it's like to actually be in the community doing the groundwork. I didn't know that work right there was preparing me to do future work. I didn't realize that the skills that it provided to me, and I guess going forward in more videos that we do, you'll hear me saying skills a lot. And a lot of times we go through life and we don't recognize the skills that we're learning as we go through them, but then we reflect.
Yep.
And I think to myself, I would never have been able to deal with people in the public like that
Right.
if I wasn't forced to be in that working situation.
Environment, right.
So being in that right there in a person's face and then going sitting behind the desk and listening to possibly that same person on the phone call, because at a point we was getting people from local and I would get certain people in certain areas. I'm like, I know this person's voice. I've been to their home before. And just seeing the different interactions with people, how they'll talk to you over the phone as compared to when
Face
you
to
were
face.
there. Yeah. So it was very interesting, the skill sets, the different things. And I say all that to say this. Of course, what we want to discuss, I guess, in this episode, this first beginner episode of whatever we want to call this, and going forward into future episodes, is really a journey of personal development. That's an aspect of what I kind of think about, even though in my personal videos, I always say affiliate marketing, stuff like that. Most times we gear stuff towards making money from home and different things like that. But I've learned that the most important things will come to you after the personal development portion.
Absolutely.
Once
Because
when you get your
that's
mind
when you're ready for it, right? Yeah. And I
right.
think that goes back to kind of what you were saying on that I want to add to about, having those experiences, those new learning experiences and things of that nature, because like how you brought up certain people that you're still cool with from your previous location. I always look back at it, there's always goods and bads in every scenario. I mean, we can always say, oh, this was the worst, they were the worst,
Yeah.
this happened to me, why me, woe is me type situation. Or we can look at it to, what, I met some great people there, right? You're one of those great people, right, that we still have that connection. And what if I were to put in the atmosphere all this negativity,
Right.
potentially that could have, stopped our reconnection and further business and things of that nature. But also it's important to understand there are certain things, people, things and people that you may need to cut ties with.
Yeah.
Right. And understanding that's okay, because everybody just can't go. And that was something I had to realize through that opportunity as well, because you'll be like, oh, this my friend, right? And I remember my wife telling me, like, why you call these people your friends? They've never came to your house, they've never shown up for you. And I was like, dang, that's crazy, because I'm the person who thinks about, okay, well, loyalty, right? I'm gonna go above and beyond. Like I was telling you about, even my service fee. If this is my fee, I'm gonna almost give you 10x whatever you just paid,
Right.
right? You see what I'm saying? Because that's just me, to go above and beyond. And like I said, I met great people, right? I met some not so good people. I've got great lessons, and I've got some, great impacts that I was able to make. And to your point, I've got great skills that I've also learned when it comes through, like you just said, leadership, development, competency, things like that, being competent, right, in your business and things of that nature. So I've learned a lot and I'm utilizing that. That's why I've just never spoke on the previous company I've even worked for. It's like, it's no need. I'm
Yeah.
thankful for my time. It's ended. There's no hate. A lot of people are looking for or expect the drama. Oh, I
Right.
want to
Right.
know. Just like when it happened, I mean, that was probably the most people called me when the event took place. Like, oh, but it was always, oh, I know if anybody, you gonna be good. You
Yeah.
gonna be good. And that let me know, one, people were watching me, people know what I'm capable of. And that was the personal development. Mentally, I was in a good place. I was recently talking to the mental health coaches out of Green Run High School, and something I said, and I say it all the time: if you can grow your mind, you can grow your money,
Yeah.
right? And it's really that simple. But people like to be in oh, I want to say what I want to say. Cool, say it. But again, we always talk about words are spells. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. Like, well, then if you know that and you know better, but you're choosing to not do better, I think you silly, right? And
Yeah.
I'm gonna call you weird, right? You know what I'm saying? You're a
Yeah.
weirdo. Like I'm talking to somebody on social media. That's one thing about me. Like, I'm not afraid to give my opinion, whether it's aligned with yours or in opposition. Simply because this is my perception. You should respect it, just like I'm gonna respect yours. And what I've understood is, like, when people get to the point where, like, if you're in opposition, they want to then attack your character. And for me, as someone who feels like my emotional intelligence has grown over the years, I've noticed that, and I say, that's interesting,
Yeah.
right? Not me getting in my feelings and attacking you back, because that's really what you want. It's just like, hey, I understand at this point we're no longer able to have a adult conversation, so I'm gonna see my
Yeah.
way up out of it, and I appreciate you. And a lot of times, as Corey was laughing the other day when I said that, I'm like, no, I'm so serious. Like, I will joke with you, but I ain't gonna lie to you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And transparency is key. And that's something I've also learned in the corporate world. Ooh, like it can get, what I'm saying, people gonna people. People be
Yeah.
peopling, like life be lifing, but if you're one with your star player, like Cat Williams said, he always said you got
Yeah.
to be one with your star player, which is you, that person in the mirror. That's the personal development. So when I got into Forex, when I got into crypto, when I got into financial literacy, also came personal development, also came the ET hip hop preacher,
Yeah.
also came the Les Brown, also
Yep.
came the Miles
Jim
Monroe.
Rohn.
Right, the Jim. Oh man, Jim Rohn, bro. That is a guy I would listen. Like, bro, I used to listen to him pause while I slept. Right,
Yeah.
and I mean, like,
Zig
the
Ziglar and
network
all.
marketing of the 21st century. I would turn
Yeah.
that on, put my headphones in, and let my subconscious soak that in
Yeah.
overnight. Until the point where I got up and I say the things now that great things are supposed to happen to me, because I believe it, because I heard it, because I told myself so much that I believe it. And what some people don't realize is that the most impactful and the most positive conversations you are going to have is going to be the conversation that you have with yourself, right? And
Yep.
that's
Right
why
there in your mind. Yep.
affirmations are so key. Personal development, what you listen to, like we talk about this music, and as we promote, our sponsor, our sponsor and our partner who's sponsoring this episode, of whatever you want to call it, that might be the
Yeah.
name, right? As we sponsoring this first
Yeah.
episode, truthhiphop.com, bro. It's
Absolutely.
really, again, what are we listening to? Right? It's a show, like it's a circus. I'm listening to this lady say men ain't nothing, sleep around, then she goes back to her husband. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, what are we teaching our younger generation as well? So what I'm just choosing to do is do something different. Right? I ain't gonna talk about it as much. Like I said, people talk a lot. Those who talk a lot, they do a lot less. I'm a person who I'm gonna do more than I talk. I'm gonna listen, I'm gonna process, right? And then I'm gonna do. right? I'm either no, based on what you're saying, I can't mess with you, right? A lot of times people go, if you let people talk enough, like the coach said over at Highland Springs, he said, if you let people talk enough, they're going to eventually tell you the truth,
That's right.
right? And some people do that, just because they yap, 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 got to be center of attention, got to be numero uno, got to be the one who, oh, I'm better than you, um, type person. And me, I'm just like, oh man, that's nice. Oh, this is my new car. Let me show you. Oh, that's hot. You know what
Yep.
I'm saying? That's cool. Oh, I just got new windows. Oh, that's nice. You know what I'm saying? Me, I'm just like that. To me, that it don't mean nothing to me. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? The thing that means something to me is like, who are you and who are you becoming? That's what's important. Like, oh, I got a little money. I got a little money too. Right? I got a car. I got a car. I got a little car too. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, right, what impresses me now is how do you make an impact? I think is key, right? But do me a favor, man, hustle, man. You always wear the hat hustle, man.
Yeah.
Tell me what started you, I guess, wearing a hustle on your head, I guess, or just wearing a merch, right? What does that do for you?
Um, let me clear my throat, like the hip hop legend would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the hustle. It's I don't know where. Well, I guess I have. I would say in our culture, the word hustle gets thrown around so much. I've heard hustle, hustle, hustle so much. Sometimes it's placed in a negative light, and I want to make sure that it gets put back in a positive light for the most part. Um, Hustle just represents the grind to me. It's just about getting out there, doing what you have to do, doing it your way
Mm-hmm.
as best you can. If it's possible to do it your way completely, I advise you to go out there, try to do it your way. I started out, I believe, well, this might have been my first hustle hat or second
Mm-hmm.
hustle hat, but it's been through some trials. It's still sitting here. It's been damaged like this. It's missing the letter.
Mm-hmm.
It
You
had
done
another
hustled the
little
T
L.
off
Yeah, I done hustled the T off, and it had
in
something
the
else
air.
down here.
Come on.
And matter of fact, yeah, the other part, because it said hustle daily.
Mm.
So the daily part came off. And so, you know, going back to personal development and mindset and having those conversations with yourself, a lot of times you're your own worst enemy.
Mm-hmm.
You're the first person that you do speak to in the morning when you wake up and before you go to sleep. And whatever you say to yourself can set the tone for that day or for your night. It could lead to nightmares and everything. Now, with that being said, that lets you know that sometimes, like Travis said, you have to be and you will be your own star player and your only supporter sometimes. And that's hard to be sometimes. So, one of the best ways that you can show that and get that confidence or start the conversation within yourself is to constantly have it in front of you. So
Mm-hmm.
this is a way of constantly having it in front of me. Every time I go in the bathroom, I look in the mirror, it's there. Every time I'm doing a video, I'm looking at it. I got it in the forefront of my mind so that I'm constantly driven and would say consumed,
Mm-hmm.
but it's my ultimate goal of the hustle and what I interpret that to mean. So just like, and we could get into deeper conversations later on, but I love philosophy. I love deep thought, deep thinking, taking things that seem simplistic on the surface or things that may seem negative, but flipping it into a positive.
Mm-hmm.
I think about negative words. So, for example, that dreaded N word,
Mm-hmm.
it was used to our detriment in the beginning, but then somehow, by some form of fashion, some mental clarity or mental transformation, we changed it to a word of empowerment,
Mm-hmm.
something of, and of course, this might start some controversy because there's going to be people in the comments saying that we don't use that word.
Mm-hmm.
That'll never be a positive word, but everything is what you make it in your mind.
Absolutely. Perception.
Whatever you perception.
Mm-hmm.
And your perception comes from your personal development
Mm-hmm.
and your mindset. So that word to different people can mean different things and invoke different emotions. So for me, when I see this word, it invokes certain emotions in me because I've created that perception in my mind of what it is. And I put this in just about everything I do, like my private Facebook group, Hustlers Secret Success System, the email sequence. When I send people an email out, it says Hustlers Secret Success System.
Mm-hmm.
I'm calling out a certain segment of people who may recognize the sound of my voice, recognize, my style of doing things, as I say in videos, and might see, as you mentioned, one of our sponsors, one of our great, networks of positive people, Truth Hip Hop. You'll see me start out a video. I'm listening to Truth Hip Hop. And I'll listen to Truth Hip Hop because that's part of my personality of who I am from a musical standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Now I get into some, some gangster, dirty music or whatever too. That's my thing too. But that's the part of me that other part from my youth experience, my growing up experience, my cultural background, where I'm from and everything. I'll always carry that with me. I still do certain things that you would say maybe two sides of the coin, so to speak. You got that Malcolm X and you got that Martin.
Right. By any means necessary. And then you got, peaceful protesting.
Yeah, you got that peace in that war. But my overall goal is to be able to present those aspects of myself, and just to round it out and sum it up, is when they hear my voice and they see what I represent and they see the word hustle in their mind, and they might represent that hustle. And that goes into building a community of your tribe. As one of my coaches, Coach T, she always say, building and finding your tribe. So that's one of those things that I use. And I'll say sometimes with Truth Hip Hop, I'll play it in the beginning and I say, that's the deterrent right there. So it's the attraction for some people and the deterrent for others. The people that's not my audience, that's not for me, that doesn't respond, so to speak, to the sound of the beat of my drum, they'll leave during that segment for sure, because maybe the sound of hip hop doesn't soothe their ears like it does mine. Maybe they might want some more, some rock and roll, some country or whatever. That's cool. They'll find their tribe of people, but everything is designed for you to attract your tribe of people. So, I try to give it to them up front. This is what I represent. If you don't hear it out my mouth, you'll see it on my face, on my head.
Absolutely.
So I always replace these, but that was a long story. But
no, that made perfect sense, bro. And ironically, you segue right into kind of what I think the name of this podcast will be now that I go back to it. And it's some will, some won't, so what? Right. And that might that's the name, right? And that's what the SW3 came from. And it aligned, with a similar story of mine as well. Be like understanding who's your tribe, your circle, or what have you, your team, per se. And what I've realized is that team is ever evolving, right? I remember growing up, or Drake comes up with that song, No New Friends.
Yeah.
Shoot, man, I want some new friends, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, I want, please, new friends, right? For example, my first post this year, and I never was big on content, being a content creator until, one post that don't hit like 80K. And I was just like, wow. The crazy part is 98% of those people were non-followers.
Yeah.
Right. And like 1% were people who follow me or know me. right? And that's why I'm like, shoot, without these new friends, that's 98. Like I wouldn't have got to
Yep.
that 98% because it's all about again attracting that value. Like some people want the positive hip hop, some people don't. That's okay, and that's fine because those who positive, that's a part of my tribe, right? You part of that culture that I want to be a part of. Those over here, like, hey, I might go to drink with you. I might go to karaoke that one a few times, and everybody doing this, and we electric sliding because again, culture is our
Yeah.
cookout, right? I do want to mingle sometimes, but for me, I realized I liked it to go to the workshops. I liked it to go to the events, right? And be around the like-minded people who get excited about helping others and adding value into other people and not only seeing their self grow, but seeing other people grow. And I was like, wow, this is different, right?
Yeah.
Because in my environment, even still, we see how that's just not really a part of our culture. If we want to be honest about it, it's always like Don was saying, like if you know what I'm doing and you got a connection that can help elevate me and you don't make that connection, like why not? And
That's
like I
right.
was telling him, don't even take that class because
Yeah.
you don't want to think about those who won't, right?
Yeah.
Because you can get into that rut and people do it. Shoot, I used to do it. Like, well, oh man, this my family. Why my family ain't supporting? This my homie. Why he ain't supporting? This somebody I know in college. Why they ain't supporting? And that will take you out of your creative space. So
Yeah.
when at first it was trade the trends, right? Because the goal mindset behind that was I want to trade an old trend in for a new trend, right? I want to take that, yeah, we're gonna grow our money, but we're gonna grow our mind, right? That was the trend I was trying to replace, and it became Trends Nation, right?
Yeah.
It's a community of new trend setters, and then the mentality took over when I'm like, man, who's my real target market, right? Who am I targeting? Because I was trying to help so many people. I was like, I need to focus, right? And I'm like, what am I passionate about? And I was like, that's sports, right? Sports management degree. I played tennis and football in college. I always wanted to be a sports agent, of course, and the NIL wave happened and I found a way in, right? And sports, being a sports marketing agent, with the NIL and consultations and providing tools and resources. And I'm still doing the financial literacy aspect, but I'm targeting my student athletes and their parents,
Yeah.
because I know for me, man, I wish I had NIL when I was in high school, college, but I also would have needed the financial education because I probably would have spent it not knowing about taxes,
Right.
not knowing about, 1099s and different stuff, or IULs and health insurance and life insurance. It's different now. So for me, it's like I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing. And I made a post earlier because Shador Sanders said it to old boy at Colorado State last night. The funny part is like you know like I tell people, like even your haters gonna take a peek. That's why you always get more views than you get likes,
Yeah.
right? Because even your haters gonna look, right? And the funny part is it's the end of the game. The other opposing quarterback tried to slide in and shake Shador's hand. Shador said, "Nah, bruh, you was that guy on
Mm.
Instagram talking that trash,
Uh,
right?" And he said it just like this. I'm gonna say it. You can't fuck with me. He said just like that. And sometimes, to be quite honest with you, people need to hear that. You
yeah.
cannot mess with me,
Yep.
right? Because sometimes it's like I'm in a place of value that I'm untouchable. I'm unfuckwittable, right? At this point, just because of not because I think I'm better than you, but because I am a high value person. And I do believe your conversation is beneath me at this time. And it's no disrespect. And for me, I've been in situations where people want to attack me, my character, because who do you think you are? I'm like, honestly, I don't think I'm nobody. That's why I said no, thank you. I go back to my no thank you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
what do you think, Travis? I'll be like, no, thank you. Right. Because I already know, right? I know it's opposing of what you're saying. And I already know when people aren't educated, they take shots. Right. And then once we get there, I know me, I'm gonna go too far. I'm gonna go too far because at that point there is no too far,
Yeah.
right? I don't know if that's the Leo in me, right, or whatnot, or just the, again, my high value mindset that, you know, I'm confident in who I am and what I do, you know, and it's no disrespect. You know, I tell, sometimes I might say, hey, I don't fit. The reason I'm not taking your advice or feedback is because simply I don't think you're qualified to give it. Right. And sometimes that's no shot. It's like, I don't
Yeah.
think you're qualified. Like, how can you tell me about your marriage, about my marriage, and get my marriage better? You're going to divorce number three, right? Or you've never been married, single. I'm like, I don't understand, you know, and we live in a world where, you know, everybody hating each other. Everybody don't like each other. Whereas the same sex, opposite sex, you know, different colors, different races. And it's like men need women, women need men, right? We all need each other, you know, but we all need to be in a place of respect, right? I
Yeah.
respect your perception based on your experiences and your development, and you should respect mine, or at least seek to understand, right? But we're not in a place to seek to understand. We're going from past hurt or trauma, pointing the finger, right? You know, example, I was on Facebook, right? This was a lady that was like a leader in a network marketing company dealing with Forex, right?
Okay.
Um, Leader, you know, and I used to think like, bro, like these people post these nasty posts, right? And I'm like, people follow that? You know what I'm saying? I'm just like I don't understand. But the funny part, these are the people follow and pay money to. People will sit
Yeah.
here
That's
and
shock value.
I'll be like, hey y'all, I just made $10,000 today. Sign up for 500. I'm gonna show you. All right, you pay your 500, then you gotta buy $500 worth of other stuff just to even get to the next level.
Right.
See me, I'm gonna say, hey, I made 1,000, but I put up 500. I'm gonna be transparent, you know, and then because of the transparency, it doesn't entice people enough to make action. And I'm like,
Hmm.
I don't, right? You know, it's like I'm not gonna do, I'm not gonna, oh, I made 100K today. Like, bro, you know, he got 2 million in that account. Like, if I had 2 million, yes, 10%, that would, you're right. You know what I'm saying? I got 2 mil, but you and me, or some people who are learning the trade or financial education, they probably got 200, maybe less than the average person has less than $500 in a savings account, which is scary, bro. Just that number
Yeah.
alone scares me,
Right.
right? And I tell people all the time, like, I will help you budget, right? We all budget because we all buy stuff that we don't budget for. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, that's the case, that's the thing. But like I said, some will, some won't. So what? You know, if we focus on our journey, focus on those who will, you know, you're gonna get some people who gonna try to throw you off your, you know, throw you off your horse a little bit, you know, and then you're gonna have people who come, like you said, come in seasons, right? It was made for just that season. What did I
Right.
learn? Right? I try to process that. What did I learn? Right? Okay, was this a bad experience? Yeah, it was. But what did I learn? Right? Of course. And I take what I learned, I move forward respectfully, right? I don't have to go back and talk about, oh, this place I worked at was trash, or this person was trash, this relationship was trash. Hey, I was a part of that relationship at one point, you know, so I was trash too. You see what
Right.
I'm saying? So it's
Something we
like,
did. Yep.
right, what did I learn and how do I get better? And
Right.
some people gonna see that, some people not, and it is what it is. You know, I think, you know, being respectful is a key thing, simply because I have someone that I am trying to impress, and that's the man upstairs. Right? If I'm trying to impress somebody, it's him.
Yeah.
Right? I'm trying to sow good so I can reap good. Right? Do I get out of whack sometimes? Absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. Sometimes, like, I call my wife sometimes, like, bro, people messing with me today and I want to smack somebody. Right. Sometimes I gotta call her. Like, I'll be like, babe, I'm over here shaking. I want to smack somebody right now. You know what I'm saying? And the next person who say something slightly disrespectful, I got time today. Right. And it happens. It happens to the best of us. Like, we all have good days and we have some not so good days. And that's where gratitude comes in. Right? Of course, right? Like you said, I hustle, right? I remind myself the affirmations. Like, I tell people, like, one thing I think we should do as a group soon is like vision boards, you know, just us the fellas, you know, like me, Justin, and Jason. We did that one time or two before, you know, just because we know, hey, I need to wake up and on my mirror see that
Yeah.
positive quote. I need to, before I leave out the house, right next to the door, I need to see that positivity or that goal that I have, like you said, with your hat, which is your daily reminder, your consistent reminder of your goal is to keep going, right? Keep going. And I think it's very important for people to find like-minded individuals like that, like we have you, man. But I'm gonna close this episode up as we just hit the top of the hour. Of course, I want to say thank you to everybody who's listening in. Please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, because we know some will, some won't. So what? We'll see y'all on the other side.
Peace.